Okay, if I could ask you all to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
All right, are there any board acknowledgements or announcements?
Well, I don't want to take any thunder from the high school. I don't know if you're going to talk about this or not, but this Wednesday, our field hockey team is hosting, I don't know if it's district speak or something, but we're hosting the next step. And then Thursday night volleyball is hosting as well, so that's pretty cool. 2 sports teams this fall.
We want to acknowledge the passing of our prior board member Bob Hahn, who served over 25 years, 23 years. Thank you for his service as well.
Several, I think he was on 2 different times.
Yeah, he
cared a
loved
lot
it.
about the district and was a pillar of the community.
Yeah. Firehouse and everything.
Any other board acknowledgements? I'll just once again announce, as we stated last week, we'll be having our board community forum on the October 29th, Wednesday. Wednesday, October
Middle
29th.
School Auditorium.
Middle School Auditorium at 6 o'clock. Okay. All right, we are pleased to have with us our student representatives. First, we will have Rebecca Williams from the high school.
Hello. So we have a lot going on at the high school this month. Mini-thon, they are doing trunk or treat on Saturday, October 25th. They have a candy bar fundraiser next week, and they are hosting powder puff football and volleyball tournaments on November 8th. So far they have raised over $4,000 since the start of the school year to fight pediatric cancer. There are no new activities for the Astronomy Club. They focused on Saturn and its rings last month during clubs, and this month they will focus on Jupiter. The FFA, from October 28th to November 1st, 7 FFA members will be traveling to Indianapolis, Indiana to represent the state of Pennsylvania at the National FFA Convention. Members will be competing in the agronomy contest as well as the forestry competition. The FFA also has a fall fundraiser. They are selling fruit and poinsettias that will be beginning on October 22nd and run through November 20th. The poinsettias are grown by the horticulture class in the high school greenhouse. The junior class is currently selling R&K subs to raise additional funds for prom / their class trip. They are in the midst of voting for the prom 2026 theme. Current frontrunners are Fairy Tale and Masquerade. Prom committee will meet Wednesday to review final results and start planning. Interact had their monthly trash pickup, and they are going to be having trick or treat for UNICEF. And FBLA chapter has started the year with 46 members attending their first club meeting on September 24th, with more than 30 paid members. Our regional leadership workshop at Oakside Park on the 7th was very successful, with 37 members attending, along with hundreds of other students from various schools in the area. At the park, students got to know each other through team building activities, and new members got to learn what FBLA is all about. Coming up, 17 students will be going to Kalahari Resort for the PA FBLA State Leadership Workshop from September 1st to the 3rd. Throughout the weekend, attendees will be gaining useful connections and learning key business skills from several guest speakers and personalized workshop presentations. FBLA is proud to be representing our school at the regional and state level this fall and coming winter. The Student Council hosted homecoming, and it was themed Let's Dance on September 24th, and it was a huge success. They have been working hard now on planning the upcoming Veterans Day Assembly, which will be on November 8th, and that's all for the announcements.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Williams?
A lot going on.
All right, thank you very much for the informative report. And for the first time, we had our middle middle school representative for this school year, Ms. Faith Ganella. Welcome to our board meeting. The
Hi,
floor
my
is
name
yours.
is Faith Canella. I'm in 8th grade and I'm the student council president here. Here's what happened in Edmond. We just began our current Pride Value Caring. All students will be participating in a lesson on caring in their social studies classes. We had our first Pride Reward Day earlier this month. All qualifying students enjoyed field day activities outside. Our pumpkin carving contest begins this week. We'll be raising money for PBIS. The winners are going to make a human ice cream sundae out of our Brave admin team. We are having our Halloween Themed Spirit Week next week, starting October 27th. We will have Pajama Day, Tea Tuesday, Wacky Wednesday, Halloween headgear on Thursday, and black, orange, and white color wars on Friday. Stay tuned for a special surprise Spirit Day from our teachers as well. Thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you so much. Any questions for Ms. Ganella? All right, we're gonna let you off the hook easy since it's your first night. No questions next time. All right, turning now to our building principal updates, Dr. Becker.
Good evening, everyone. So as we reach the end of the first marking period, I'd like to recognize the work the staff at LHS continues to do day in and day out preparing our students. Kind of hard to imagine that we're to the point at the end of this week where we're finishing a quarter already of the school year. This preparation that they do comes in many forms. It's very far-reaching, and I truly do believe that the things that are happening in the building are a major part of preparing the students for life after they leave our district. So while assessment scores aren't our focus in the building, our teachers continually take steps to prepare the students for our Keystone exams, for example, among the other exams and assessments that are out there. Our tested subject faculty has or will be completing CDTs, which are classroom diagnostic tools with the students. This diagnostic directly aligns to the end of course Keystone exams and lets them know where the students currently stand in reaching the skills necessary to succeed on those tests. And I've already seen the data breakdowns that have been prepared by the teachers that are using the CDT results, and I've witnessed shifts in the instruction after acquiring this information, ensuring that the students are on track and going the direction they need to go. Biology teachers will soon be implementing the Firefly benchmarks, dealing with the moving target of the new standards that will be part of the Keystone exam, which they have been preparing for several years and now are turning a corner to new standards. Happy to report that they are, in my opinion, very well versed in doing so, and we can have great confidence in the teachers to prepare our students for that exam as well. So moving outside the classroom, as Mrs. Rester stated, I'd like to congratulate a couple of our programs. Our field hockey and volleyball teams have qualified for the District 3 tournament in their respective sports. So field hockey is set to play on Wednesday, and that's going to be at 6 o'clock, and then Thursday at 6 o'clock will be our volleyball team, and we're hosting both games, which is very exciting to host district events here in Littlestown. So please come out and support those teams as they, in my belief, will advance through that tournament beyond this week. Also looking ahead a couple weeks from now, before we will meet again, good luck to our Blue Band that will be attending their championship competition on Saturday, November 1st. I know that I've seen them multiple times, as have several of you that have come to games, and it's a fantastic show, and I'm very confident they're going to make us proud when they go to those championships as well. And Rebecca did a great job of summing up all the things I would never be able to remember around here. She did a great job because there's a lot of things that happen up in that building, and it's exciting as it continues to move on. So that's what I have tonight, if you have any questions.
Any questions for Dr. Becker? Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Mrs. Golden.
Good evening. So I'd like to talk a little bit about the PBAS process that we go through with our teachers. And what I'm going to speak about is very similar to what I'm sure is occurring at ACES and the high school as well. I just kind of chose to focus on it today for Maple Avenue. So PBAS stands for Pennsylvania Value Added Assessment System, and it's a tool that Pennsylvania schools use to measure how much academic progress students make from year to year. It doesn't just look at the PSSA test results, it looks at how much students have grown compared to what's expected based on their past performance. In other words, it shows whether students made more or less or about the same progress as similar students across the state. Schools use PBAS to understand the impact of their teaching and it helps identify strengths and areas that may need more support to guide instructional decisions and set goals for continued student growth. So teachers use individual student PBAS data to better understand each learner's needs, and it helps them group students for instruction, to set realistic goals, plan lessons that provide the right level of challenge, whether that means offering extra support or extending learning for students who are already performing above grade level. Administrators can use PBAS data during individual teacher data meetings, which is what I really want to focus on, to have evidence-based conversations about student growth. The data helps highlight patterns or trends in teachers' classes, celebrate areas of strong progress, and identify where adjustments in instruction or support might be needed. It serves as a guide for professional reflection, goal setting, and planning strategies to help students grow. So what I provided to you at your seat was a sample of a document that I prepare using PBAS data for each individual teacher. And again, I'm sure Dr. Becker and Ms. Moran do something very similar with their teachers. So what I do is I go into, I log in as an administrator to PBAS, and I'm able to like screenshot or snippets of the individual teacher data to paste in this document to be able to have very specific conversations with teachers about the results that they've had historically and their plans moving forward. So again, this is just a made-up example. The data is actually from 2 different teachers put together. But it shows at the top those teacher-specific results, and it shows how well the teacher is doing at growing their students to the expected level. And then in the middle there, with the purple bars, what it does is it takes those teachers' students and it puts them into 3 buckets. The lowest achieving students, the middle achieving students, and the highest achieving students. And those bars indicate whether or not the teacher does an adequate job of growing that subset of students. So in this specific example in the paper I gave you, it looks like this teacher does a really great job growing their lowest and middle students, but the highest achieving students under their care are losing ground. Okay, so that's just, again, you see the questions there about how we're growing students by achievement group. And then we can have discussions, next on the sheet, are correlation data discussions. How does this data correlate to what we're seeing with iReady or your classroom data? What do we know from historically from PSSA? How all of that puts together a picture of not only the instruction in the building, but in the classroom, by period, and by student. The state does provide to us some reflection guides for English and math. If this were a digital document, you see that they're highlighted in blue. There's links there to those reflection guides. I pare them down. They're very overwhelming, multiple page documents of reflection questions that teachers can consider in the areas of curriculum, instruction, and assessment. So I've kind of pared them down, still in those 3 areas, but to choose the questions that best reflect our goals, our areas of need to try to focus the teachers in, because I'm sure you can imagine when you're handed a multiple page document of reflection questions, it's almost paralyzing. So helping them to focus there, and then just asking teachers to articulate their goal. What's going to be their response to this data, and what's their urgency? And that could be different for each teacher depending on their own specific data. So what should we keep doing, what should we stop doing, and what should we start doing? So this is just an example of a template I put together to guide those individual discussions with teachers in light of their individual data. So I just wanted to share that with you. Questions?
Brittany,
Yes.
how is the PBAS data mined? You understand what I'm saying? How are the teachers being assessed so you can do this?
Yeah, so I cannot speak to, because it is certainly above my pay grade and understanding on how the formulas that the state uses to calculate these things. But I can tell you that it's all dumped then into a site that teachers can access, and they only have access to the data that's related to them, so they can't see their colleagues' results, but they can log in and see their former students, their current students, their projections, and the data that relates to the students that are in front of them. So I don't know how it's all figured, because again, it's based on the student's individual historic PSSA performance, so it's kind of a trend of how well this student seems to do over time, but it's also considered a measure with how well other students like them are doing in the state. So there's some sort of magical algorithm that they use to make these predictions, and I Dr. Berlin, do you have any better way to describe that? Okay.
I think it's pretty much exclusively limited to PSSA data, our state assessment data, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
Well,
we have
no, we can also upload, like we do CDTs, that also helps with their, predictions and their growth. I know we use iReady, and I heard, last week or 2 weeks ago when we were talking with iReady in one of our meetings, and then I heard it again today, we should be getting an agreement to sign with them, and they will also put our iReady data in here, so we'll get even richer data from us.
But I really think you're on the right track by looking at growth data and focusing on formative assessments along the way so we can change our instruction based upon the needs of our kids. Thank you.
It's eye-opening too when you look at those individual predictions of students, because if you have a handful of students who are predicted to be right there on the edge, like almost at the cusp of reaching proficiency, then teachers can say, well, what can we do for them? Not to exclude anyone else, but what can we do for them to get them over the hump, you know? Or just even move in up reporting categories from below basic to basic or something.
And I would just add one other thing. When it comes to judging our teachers on how much our kids are performing, basing it on growth during that period of time that they actually have them for instruction is a much fairer measuring tool than arbitrary cutoff scores. So I appreciate you focusing on that. Thank you.
Hey, Corsi,
Yes.
one more question. When the teachers see this data that's on the PBOS, does it get them frustrated, or are they able to work through their learning curve?
Yes, so I think a little bit about what Dr. Moyer said is true. Like, in my experience, teachers are much more willing to have conversations around this data because it's about the students who are in front of them, and it's not just some arbitrary scores, right? But I do think it's eye-opening. Like, for example, this fake teacher I put together for you. Like, if you were a teacher, if this was your data and you were really looking last year to grow those low kids, you can pat yourself on the back, because whatever you were doing, keep doing that. But look what happened. Your highest achieving students slipped. So now we need to have a conversation about what are you doing to challenge those. Keep doing what you're doing for our struggling students, but now what layer are we going to put in to make sure that we're challenging and continuing to grow our highest achieving students? So that's just an example. But that's a discussion that can have a real impact on what teaching and learning looks like in that teacher's classroom.
Absolutely. I like the idea of how it's put together, and then with iReady coming in, like you explained, we get because the data that we put in is the data that we get out. So we need to have the best data in.
And that's important too, I think, for a teacher not to feel defensive about a single data point, but when you have multiple data points that all tell a similar story, it's much easier to put your full faith.
It's not one-sided, too.
Right, exactly.
Thank you.
More action. Sure, you're very welcome.
I was just going to ask you that, for those that don't know, how often is the data inputted throughout the school year?
Well, with this specific thing, it's based off of last year's PSSA, so it's based on that. But it's historical. So I mean, yeah.
But if you bring in the iReady and all,
Sure,
will it be more than just...
keeps data fresh as we go.
It will keep it fresh, or it
No,
won't?
I'm just saying I'm sorry.
No, you got it.
It just, not for PBAS, I'm just saying we are constantly getting iReady data that we can act on and use. It's not like it's constantly being uploaded to this system, but.
Good. Very good.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Mr. Moran?
All right, so just really want to focus on 4 areas in relation to Alloway Creek here at ACES, some really positive things that have been occurring over the last few weeks and will occur over the next couple of weeks as we meet again. So our Pumpkin Paces is a connection back to our Race for Ed. If you remember me talking about that last year in the spring, we made a conscious decision to move that event to the fall. And so we've retitled it Pumpkin Paces instead of Race for Ed. So that's been a tremendous success this year with raising funds. And again, remember, part of the purpose of that committee is raising funds to help our students in regards to field trips and other learning activities for our students. So again, everything is directly back to our students. Our original goal was to raise $15,000, but I'm really happy to report that we raised $20,718.50. So over $20,000. So really, you know, as you can see, we really exceeded that number. And I really want to give a shout out to Jen Myers, and it's not just Jen. Jen's just the leader of that committee, our third grade teachers. But we have representatives from each grade level that is part of that committee, and the work that they do is just phenomenal. A really big thank you, I want to also say on that, goes out to our students, staff, and families in the community. They continue to step up and continue to support our educational opportunities and the events and the activities associated with their school district. I can't say enough about the community for what they do for us. On Friday's event, it was really an opportunity for the students, parents, staff, administration to come together. We're engaging in meaningful events, such as competing in relay races against other classes, fun activities that are station-driven on the field, students an opportunity to walk and run around the stadium as part of the fundraising component to that, cheering on each other from a grade level perspective, and then creating some very awesome pumpkins. And I don't know if you've had an opportunity to see that through the weekend, and some of those are still being placed on the outside of the stadium. But students and staff or students and families came together to create pumpkins centered around 4 categories. And those 4 categories was around school spirit, a fall theme, the most creative pumpkin, and also connecting it back to our reading piece, a storybook character. And we had a total of about 145 pumpkins that was created from our students and our families, and we were really proud of that number. And it was just phenomenal to see. I know some of that's been put out on their live stream in some of those areas, but again, just phenomenal work by all. As we continue to focus at the elementary level, our focus continues to be on reading and exposing the students to it as a core focus for us. Tonight, I'm asking the school board to approve 2 different donations of books for our students to have exposure to. Those partnerships with different organizational groups is key to supporting our students, staff, and families in the pursuit of reading and becoming lifelong learners. The Thunderbolt Foundation and the Storybook has been a great example of this that we recently completed, and that's going to be a phenomenal piece that will go on each year for us to use in many different ways. Just tonight, a little emphasis, the first set of books are being paid and donated by Miss Melissa Dietzer, the educational chair of the South Mountain Audubon Society. Just really emphasize all these books centered on animals, and the books do structure grades 3 to 7. However, I want you to keep in mind some of our older students need reading materials that support their above grade level reading skills. Even though we're just K-5, we do have students that are at a 6th grade or a 7th grade reading level, so it's important for us to support those students as well. It goes back to Ms. Gould's point about what are we doing to help support our most advanced kids, and we helping them continue to become stronger. These books will be kept in our library with the state's direction. The second set of books is from a local author within our community, Ms. Libby Trossel. She's authored the book, The Adventures of Shining Hope. Shining Hope Visits Niagara Falls. So again, this book is a part of an ongoing series by the author. Students in the 2nd grade will be the recipients of this donation if it's approved tonight. And this again creates another opportunity for our students and families to engage in reading. I can't stress the importance of that enough. I want to shift now a quick focus to Dr. Naylor and Mr. Lorenz. We're starting to reconnect back to some safety things associated, so that continues to be at the forefront of what we do with the ACES team. Next week, we'll be conducting an internal tabletop exercise with students and staff on various emergency situations that they may encounter throughout the school year. The focus is on how to respond and plan for evacuating the building, staying put inside the classroom, taking shelter in place, accounting for students and staff, communication protocols, and so on. This is an ongoing exercise that is practiced on a regular basis in our building. We take that information, we analyze it, we take the feedback from all the stakeholders that are associated with that, and we look to continue to improve in our procedures. So we're excited about that as we continue to go forward. And finally, tonight, I just want to talk a little bit about our firefight assessment. Again, something that has been alluded to by my colleagues. Our fifth grade students did complete this last week. We're currently working on the data analysis of that information. I just want you to remember the assessment is science-based and connected to the new science, technology, and engineering, environmental literacy, and sustainability standards set forth by the state. This group of students, fifth grade, eighth grade, and then as Becker moved to the high school group with bio, this will be the first group that will officially take the skills SSA/QSPED assessments in this grade. Part of this process has been the alignment and collaboration from the elementary, middle, and high school. So again, just like to say a shout out to the middle school staff, the high school staff, and the elementary staff, teachers that have been a part of that. Again, bringing all three buildings together sort of for a common cause academically with their students. And a special shout out to Brett Powell, high school physics teacher, who's been at the forefront of that and is a teacher leader with us and working through that. His work with sort of bringing all three buildings together has been phenomenal. And I know I speak for our fifth grade teachers, it's been a tremendous help for us for it. And again, we're going to have a meeting next week to debrief some of that analysis of that information and how that can continue to drive our instructional practices as we move forward in the school year. And with that, that would conclude my report. Questions?
So, Mr. Moran, this EELS test, this is something new?
It's the PSSA test.
Right.
The state
Reformulated?
made a commitment to go into the skills science standards. They've been piloting the information for the last couple of years as far as making the transition. It's probably a better way to say the transition. This year will be the official first year of kids actually testing on the schoolroom camp. Last year there was a pilot school that the students were not, or the staff, the teachers are not held accountable to. It was a test, a pilot testing the information last year.
So these scores are not going to be official because it's a new test?
No, this year will be.
Oh, it will be.
Last year was not.
Okay.
Because the PSSA used to be fourth grade, and then last year, those kids took it fourth grade, but when they became fifth graders last year, they went for a pilot with the new, so their PSSA had already been accounted for. So this year's fifth graders will be the first group that actually takes the test.